1002, 1003, 1004. Oh, hey! Welcome back to Virtual MOSI. You just caught me working on my respiratory system health. What's the respiratory system, you ask? Well, it's the human body system that deals with the lungs. Is there any activities you like to do to keep your lungs healthy? Maybe running, swimming, hula hooping, dancing. So many different things you can do. But what do our lungs do exactly? You probably know that they take in air, but there's a particular molecule that they're trying to filter out of the air. Do you know what it is? That's right, oxygen. Believe it or not, every breath you take a deep breath with me. Only 16% of that breath was oxygen. The rest of it is nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and other things. And when we breathe out, we have taken that oxygen and released it as carbon dioxide. We've converted it to another molecule. Where does oxygen come from? Well, trees or other plants like algae in the ocean take carbon dioxide, like we breathe out, and release oxygen. That makes them very, very helpful to animals like us that need oxygen to survive. But why do our bodies need oxygen? Well, if you listen to our chemistry lesson on combustion, you know that in order to turn fuel into some sort of energy, we need oxygen for that reaction to take place. It's a very similar reaction to fire, for example. Now, to go into a little bit more detail, every cell in your body needs oxygen, and there's a particular organelle in the cells that do that. If you listen to our lesson on cells, you know that animal cells have something called mitochondria. Those are the powerhouse of the cell. And those are the organelle that actually needs the oxygen. It uses the oxygen to convert the glucose into energy. And remember, a cell is the smallest unit of a living thing. If you have enough cells put together, you can create tissue. There are many different kinds of tissue: muscle tissue, skin tissue, brain tissue. And enough tissue together can create an organ. For example, your heart, or your lungs maybe, or your stomach, or your liver, your intestines. Do you know what your biggest organ in the human body actually is? That's right, your skin. Anyway, if you put enough organs together, they can work in what we call an organ system. So our heart pumps blood throughout our veins. And all of those organ systems working together to keep you safe and healthy are what produces an organism. So let's get started with our first activity today. What we're going to do is build model lungs at home so you can get a better idea about how your respiratory system actually functions. And you're going to need a few materials. I've written them on the board here. But first, you'll need a plastic cup, clear so we can see through it. Now I'm using a 9-ounce plastic cup. The smaller the better, really, but you can go all the way up to maybe a 16-ounce cup. This is just going to be a little bit harder to use, but that's okay, whatever you have at home. And you will also need some straws, some balloons, and tape, scissors. If you have them, Play-Doh is going to be very helpful. And I like to use a hot glue gun. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's get started. So the first step you need to do is take your plastic cup. This is going to represent your chest cavity. Imagine all the stuff inside of your rib cage. And what we need to do is puncture a hole in the top of it. You can use scissors, or what I like to do is I just use my hot glue gun to kind of melt a hole in the top there. It doesn't need to be very big, just big enough for your straw to fit through. Okay. So now that we have kind of an opening into our chest cavity here, what we need to do, and I'm going to make it a little bigger so this is easier, is to fit a balloon inside that hole. Now I have balloons in lots of different colors. Is there one you guys want us to use today? I have some reds, some purples, some yellows, greens, blues. I am going to use, let's do red. That's my favorite color. Okay. And it's gonna be a little tight in here. I might need to use the scissors just to fit it through. Now our model is going to have one lung. You, of course, have two. And if you want to make a model lung with two of them, you can. You'll just need to make a slightly bigger hole. Okay, excellent. So we have our chest cavity here. We have one lung, this balloon. And now we need something to get air into the lungs. So that's a special organ. Do you know what it is? Mr. Ian talked about it yesterday in his dissection lesson, and that is your trachea. Go ahead and feel your trachea right there in the front of your throat. As you do, you might notice that you have different hard ridges along the length of it. Those are special ridges made out of cartilage to help keep your trachea open so you can constantly get air into your lungs. Our straw is going to represent a trachea in this case, and you're just going to go ahead and put it into your balloon like that. Nice. Now we are going to take some tape and secure your balloon to the straw. We want to try to keep it airtight as much as possible. I'm using some masking tape. You can use any tape you happen to have at home. That's probably more than enough. And again, like I said, our goal is to make this airtight. So something that can help you do that is Play-Doh. I'll just take a little bit here and wrap it around kind of the neck of my balloon. Don't need too much. All right, we're trying to create a nice seal, and that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so now we have three important parts of our respiratory system. We have the chest cavity where the lungs go. Our balloon represents those lungs. And we have a trachea made out of a straw. But there's one more important step that actually helps you breathe. Do you know what else do I need to include? It's a special muscle you might have heard of before, and it's called a diaphragm. So,
we have a request to use a green balloon from Christina.
Ooh, all right, we'll use that one for this muscle then. Okay, I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit. And you're going to take your balloon, and right where the neck ends, you're just going to go down a little bit. You don't need to go too far. If you need to, it's always better to cut less and go back and cut more if you need to. So we've cut a small hole there, and now it's kind of stretchy. And we are going to wrap it along the bottom of our cup. If you need a second pair of hands, go ahead and ask for help from someone. And this is why the smaller cup is a little bit easier than the bigger cup. And there's our model lungs. So let's see how it works. If I take my diaphragm here and I pull the bottom, watch what happens to the lungs inside. Can you see that? They're expanding and contracting. Why is that happening? I bet you can guess why. You know a little something about states of matter, right? Solids, liquids, and gases? Let's talk about gases real quick. Air. Does air, or any other gas, have a fixed shape? Does it stay in one shape? No. Does it have a fixed volume? Does it have to stay the same size? No. Air and other gas always fills to take the shape of the container. So when I pull on this little muscle at the bottom of your chest here, it's going to create more space inside that cavity. And so there's going to be less pressure, and the air is going to rush in through the trachea, into the lungs to fill that extra space. I'm going to put that back on real quick. And as you release it, so expand, contract, as you release it, there's less space in your, there's less space available for that air, and it all pushes back out because of the increased pressure. Pretty cool, right? This is mechanically how your lungs work. So when you need to take a deep breath, that's why we breathe from lower down, where our diaphragm is. We take a deep breath, not from up high up here. Okay, and when you do those models, you can do it with one, like I did here, or if you want to make a bigger hole, you can add 2 lungs just like you have. Pretty cool, right? And now more than ever, respiratory health is very, very important. So we need to do things like exercise, like getting fresh air, and of course avoiding negative habits. Like for instance, smoking can have a very detrimental effect on your lungs. Really quickly, I'll show you a model of what that can look like. Okay. Oops, it looks like it's upside down. All right. So we need to keep our lungs healthy and flexible if we want them to continue to function as intended. But if we damage our lungs by inhaling smoke, for example, all kinds of negative things can happen. Those little alveoli, those little sacs inside your lungs can get hard. Your bronchial tubes can become inflamed and smaller and filled with plaque. And continued use can actually result in cancer. And finally, your heart and your lungs are very interconnected, and smoking can actually lead to increased incidences of heart attacks. So, make sure that you guys stay healthy, protect your lungs. And I have one more activity I want to kind of introduce to you guys as a challenge. We're not going to complete the activity ourselves, but I want to set it up for you so you can try. I said that your heart and your lungs are very interconnected. Remember, your lungs take in the oxygen, and your heart is what pumps it to the other parts of your body. That's why when you're exercising and you're going really fast, and your body needs more energy, your lungs are going to work harder to pull in more air, more oxygen, and your heart is going to work faster and harder to pump it quicker to your body. I really like this comic by the artist, the Awkward Yeti up here. It's the lungs saying, we got you something. And the heart says, I love it, I'm going to share it with everyone. Remember, your organ systems are working together. So, the next challenge I want to set up for you guys involves the heart. And the heart contains many different valves, right? Things that are letting the blood go in one direction, but not the other. So, for instance, we want to make sure the oxygenated blood, the blood that has oxygen, is what's going to the cells. And the deoxygenated blood, the blood that doesn't have oxygen and is full of the waste products like carbon dioxide, is what's coming back to the lungs to be released into the air. So it's very important that the blood is flowing in only one direction. So that's what this activity represents. We have a heart chamber here, and you are going to create a valve in between that allows the flow in one direction but not the other. And in this case, we are going to use marbles to represent those molecules. So go ahead and find some marbles or small balls that you can use at home, and anything you have, you can use to try to create a valve. Some examples include tinfoil, index cards, tape, maybe you have some pipe cleaners, or popsicle sticks, or toothpicks. What do you guys think? What can you do that when you put in these marbles, they'll flow in only one direction? Now there's a lot of different ways to do this, and I don't want to spoil the challenge for you. But take these index cards, for example. If I put them on this and I tape them to the edge of my chamber, are the marbles going to be able to get through? Probably not. Whoops. Or they can, and they can also go back. That's not something that we want. So think about that, explorers. I want to really leave it up to you to be creative with this activity at home. Or go ahead and try these model lungs and let us know how it works out. Do you have any questions about the respiratory system before we sign off?
Nikki says that she likes your shirt.
Thank you very much. This shirt obviously has a lot of the basic organs that you have in your body as well. And let me show you the back. I think I'm missing one of them, but I have at least one kidney. I must have donated the other. So yeah, any other questions? All right, remember explorers, stay active, stay healthy, and keep discovering. Hope to see you next time.